unexpected twist. In the cozy corner of a bustling cafe named Brewhaven, Emily sat nervously at a small round table, her fingers tracing the rim of her untouched latte. It was her first blind date in years, set up by her well-meaning best friend who swore this guy, Alex, was perfect. The cafe was alive with the murmur of conversations and the rich aroma of freshly ground coffee beans. Emily, a graphic designer scraping by on freelance gigs, had chosen a simple sundress that made her feel a bit more confident than she actually was. Alex arrived precisely on time, striding in with an easy confidence that turned heads. Tall, with sharp features and a tailored suit that screamed success, he flashed a warm smile as he spotted her. "Emily, I'm Alex. Sorry if I'm a bit overdressed, this was straight from the office." They shook hands, and as he sat down, Emily couldn't help but notice the subtle luxury of his watch, the kind that whispered wealth without shouting it. The conversation flowed surprisingly well at first. They bonded over shared loves of indie films and hiking trails just outside the city. Laughter came easy, and Emily found herself relaxing, forgetting her worries about rent due next week. But as the date progressed, things took a turn toward extravagance. Alex insisted on ordering the cafe's signature tasting menu, a flight of artisanal coffees paired with gourmet pastries, truffle-infused chocolates, and even a bottle of rare espresso liqueur that the menu proudly noted was imported from a small Italian distillery. "Life's too short for mediocre coffee," he said with a wink, and Emily, caught up in the moment, didn't protest. Hours slipped by, the sun dipping low outside the large windows, casting a golden hue over their table now cluttered with empty plates and half-drained glasses. Emily's heart fluttered when Alex reached across to brush a crumb from her sleeve, his touch lingering just a second too long. For the first time in months, she felt seen, valued. But as the waiter approached with the bill, reality crashed in like a cold wave. The total was staggering, $285, more than Emily's weekly grocery budget. Her freelance check had bounced that morning, and her credit card was maxed out from an unexpected car repair. Panic rose in her chest as she fumbled for her wallet, praying for a miracle. Let me just. I'll cover it," she stammered, but her voice cracked. Alex's eyes softened as he watched her count out crumpled bills, coming up woefully short. The waiter hovered awkwardly, sensing the tension. Emily's cheeks burned with humiliation. This perfect evening was ending in disaster, confirming her deepest fears that she didn't belong in moments like this. Before she could utter another apology, Alex placed his hand gently over hers, stilling her frantic movements. "It's on me," he said simply, his voice steady and kind, pulling out a sleek black card without a second thought. The waiter nodded gratefully and whisked away the leather folder. Emily blinked, tears pricking at her eyes. "You don't have to. I mean, I invited you, technically." Alex leaned in, his expression earnest. "Emily, tonight wasn't about the bill. It was about this, laughing, connecting. Money's just paper. Let me take care of it because I want to, not because I have to." As they stepped out into the cool evening air, he confessed over the sidewalk, "I'm the CEO of Vanguard Tech, but that's not who I am. Tonight, I was just Alex, hoping to make a girl smile." They walked together toward her bus stop, the city's lights twinkling like stars brought to earth. Emily realized that sometimes, the best stories aren't about grand gestures, but the quiet ones that say, "You're enough." And as he kissed her cheek goodbye, promising a second date on neutral, budget-friendly ground, she believed him. Story 2, Rainy Day Redemption. The rain pattered against the cafe windows like impatient fingers, turning the world outside into a blurry watercolor. Sarah had arrived early for her blind date at the steaming mug, shaking droplets from her umbrella and smoothing her damp hair. At 28, she was a kindergarten teacher with a passion for painting, but her bank account reflected the modest salary of her dreams. Her friend Lila had matched her with Jordan, a creative type, from an online app, and Sarah clung to hope despite the storm brewing both outside and in her wallet. She'd splurged on a new tube of oil paint last week, leaving her dangerously low on funds. Jordan burst in 5 minutes late, apologetic and charming, his curly hair tousled by the wind, carrying a leather messenger bag that looked well loved. "Sarah, God, this weather is brutal. I'm Jordan, sorry for the dramatic entrance." He was handsome in a boyish way, with laugh lines that crinkled when he grinned. They ordered simple drinks at first, her chamomile tea, his black coffee, but as stories unfolded about her finger-painting escapades with kids and his graphic novel illustrations, the orders escalated. A shared platter of scones with clotted cream, then macarons in every color, and finally, the cafe's famous affogato with imported gelato that melted decadently into espresso. The rain intensified, trapping them in a bubble of warmth and wit. Sarah shared her dream of exhibiting her art someday, and Jordan's eyes lit up, sketching a quick doodle of her on a napkin that made her laugh until her sides ached. For those hours, the world narrowed to their table, the storm a mere backdrop to budding sparks. But when the check arrived, $210, thanks to the impulsive dessert detour, Sarah's smile faltered. She'd calculated wrong, her debit card declined with an embarrassing beep, and she had exactly $47 in cash, stained from the rain. "Oh no, I thought I had more," she whispered, mortified, as Jordan glanced at the total. The waiter shifted uncomfortably, and Sarah wished the floor would swallow her whole. This was supposed to be a fresh start, not a fiasco. Jordan didn't hesitate. "It's on me," he declared, sliding his card across with a reassuring nod. "Consider it payment for the best sketch inspiration I've had in months." Relief washed over her, mingled with gratitude that made her throat tight. As they dashed into the downpour together, umbrellas forgotten, he admitted, "I'm actually the founder of Pixel Forge Studios, a little animation company that's done okay. But tonight, just a guy who hates seeing a great artist stressed over gelato." Under the awning of a nearby bookstore, rain dripping from their lashes, Sarah turned to him. "You didn't have to," he shrugged, pulling her into a hug that smelled of coffee and rain. "I wanted to. And next time, we paint instead of eat, no bills involved." As lightning cracked the sky, Sarah felt the storm inside her clear, replaced by the promise of colors yet to blend. Story 3, The Bookish Encounter. Pages turned softly in the air-conditioned hush of the literary brew, a cafe tucked between towering bookshelves where every table held a forgotten novel. Mia, a librarian with ink-stained fingers and a collection of vintage brooches, adjusted her glasses as she waited for her blind date. Set up by her book club, the mystery man was named Liam, described as witty and worldly. Mia's life was a quiet rhythm of due dates and dusty tomes, her paycheck vanishing into student loans, but she allowed herself this evening's whimsy. Liam entered like a character from one of her Regency romances, tall, with wire-rimmed glasses and a cashmere sweater that hugged his frame just right. "Mia, I'm Liam. Forgive me if I smell like old paper, I run a publishing house." They dove into discussion immediately, debating Austen versus Bronte over steaming mochas, then escalating to the cafe's literary-themed indulgences, a charcuterie board with cheeses named after poets, leather-bound journals as coasters, and a pot of loose-leaf Darjeeling that cost more per ounce than Mia's rent. Time dissolved amid quotes and quips, their knees brushing under the table as Mia recited sonnets from memory, earning Liam's rapt attention. She felt alive, her usual reserve melting away. Yet, when the ornate bill folder landed, $320, inflated by the rare tea and artisanal pairings, Mia's joy curdled. Her wallet yielded a paltry $120, her emergency fund depleted by a surprise dental bill. This is more than I planned," she admitted, voice small, as the server waited. Liam's hand covered the folder instantly. "It's on me," he said, his tone as steady as a well-bound spine. "A story like ours deserves no epilogue in awkwardness." The card swiped smoothly, and Mia exhaled, the weight lifting. Outside, under street lamps glowing like reading lights, he revealed, tech CEO by day, well, publishing tech, merging AI with classics. "But you're the real plot twist here." They wandered to a nearby bench, sharing passages from pocket editions until the cafe's lights dimmed. "Thank you," Mia murmured, leaning into his shoulder. "Stories end well when the right hero steps in." Liam smiled, turning a page together, their fingers intertwining like footnotes in fate. Story 4, Melody in the Mix. The hum of live jazz drifted through the rhythm roaster, a cafe where exposed brick walls amplified every saxophone note. Nora, a barista moonlighting as a singer-songwriter, fiddled with her guitar-pick necklace, awaiting her blind date. Her coworker had vouched for Ethan, a music buff with a good vibe, and Nora, ever the optimist despite her tip-jar economy, hoped for harmony. Ethan sauntered in mid-solo, clapping along before spotting her. Broad-shouldered with a vinyl record tattoo peeking from his sleeve, he was effortlessly cool. Nora, Ethan here, caught the tail end of that set, killer stuff. They synced instantly, trading tales of open mics and album dives over cappuccinos that frothed like applause. Enthusiasm built, a sampler of global coffee roasts, live baked empanadas synced to the beat, and a bottle of melodic red wine that paired with the band's improvisations. The music wove them closer, Nora humming choruses while Ethan drummed fingers on the table, their laughter harmonizing with the bass line. But the finale arrived with the tab, $265, a crescendo of indulgences. Nora's pockets echoed empty, gigs had been slow, and her last royalty check was a whisper. "Shoot, I can't cover this," she confessed, cheeks flushing hotter than the espresso machine. Without missing a beat, Ethan flagged the waiter. "It's on me, consider it my opening act." His card gleamed under the stage lights, and Nora's tension dissolved like a resolved chord. As the band rapped, he leaned in. "I'm the head of Soundwave Entertainment, scouting talent like yours. But tonight, I'm just a fan." They slipped out to the alley stage, where street musicians played on. Nora sang a snippet of her latest tune, Ethan's eyes locked on hers. "Encore?" he asked, pulling her into a slow dance amid the echoes. In that moment, the bill was forgotten, replaced by the sweetest refrain, "Connection, unpriced." Story 5, Floral Whispers. Petals scented the air at Bloom and Brew, a cafe greenhouse where vines climbed trellises and orchids bloomed eternally. Lila, a florist with dirt under her nails and dreams in her eyes, arranged a napkin bouquet while waiting for her blind date. Her sister swore by Marcus, a green thumb with depth, and Lila, whose shop barely broke even after a harsh winter, bloomed with cautious hope. Marcus arrived with a single wildflower, pinning it to her hair with a grin. Ruggedly handsome, with soil-flecked boots despite his crisp shirt, he owned the room. "Lila, Marcus, your sister's right, you're radiant." They bloomed over herbal infusions, then flourished with the menu's bounty: exotic fruit tarts, rose-infused macarons, and a tiered tea service with silver strainers that clinked like wind chimes. Their talk rooted deep, sharing propagation secrets and petal philosophies, until the hothouse air felt charged. The bill, however, wilted her: $290, thorns of excess snagging her threadbare budget. A late supplier invoice had left her parched. "I don't have enough," she admitted, voice thorny with shame. Marcus pruned the moment gently. "It's on me, flowers don't ask for payment to grow." His card rooted the transaction, and Lila's relief flowered anew. Strolling the cafe's arbor path, he bloomed his truth: CEO of Verdant Innovations, Sustainable Agrotech. "But you're the real growth here." Under a canopy of jasmine, they exchanged cuttings from potted herbs, fingers brushing like leaves in breeze. "Thank you for the sunlight," Lila whispered. Marcus tucked another bloom behind her ear, their story just beginning to unfurl. Story 6, Vintage Vibes. Vinyl crackled faintly at Retro Roast, a cafe evoking 1950s diners with checkered floors and neon signs. Harper, a vintage shop curator with a wardrobe of thrifted treasures, polished her cat-eye glasses, anticipating her blind date. Pushed by her aunt, the fellow was Theo, sharp as a straight razor. Harper's till rang sporadically, but optimism was her best accessory. Theo slid into the booth like a classic car, pompadour perfect, suit retro chic. Harper, Theo, dig the threads. They spun yarns over root beer floats, escalating to the diner's deluxe spread, milkshakes with malted whiskeys, sliders stacked high, and a jukebox serenade of quarters. The groove deepened, Harper twirling tales of era ephemera while Theo dropped album lore, their booth a time capsule. But the check crashed the record: $245, a skip in her sparse savings from a slow sales month. "Darn, short by half," she sighed, vinyl heart scratching. Theo flipped the script smoothly. "It's on me, call it my tip for the best spin." Card in play, the night revived. Cruising the neon-lit strip outside, he revved: CEO of Echo Archives, digitizing history. "But you're the genuine article." They paused at a payphone relic, sharing a slow dance to distant tunes. "You saved the set," Harper murmured. Theo winked, their vintage tale rewinding to replay. Story 7, Coastal Currents. Waves whispered through open doors at Tide and Grind, a seaside cafe with salt-kissed air and driftwood tables. Riley, a surf instructor with sun-bleached hair and board shorts under her skirt, scanned the horizon for her blind date. Her buddy hyped Kaya as chill waves, deep talks, and Riley, riding freelance swells, caught the vibe. Kai washed in tan and tousled, surfboard wax lingering on his hands. Riley, Kai, caught a set this morning, stoked to be here. They rode crest of conversation over iced lattes, cresting to seafood skewers, mango salsas, and chilled craft ciders that fizzed like breakers. Currents pulled them close, Riley recounting rogue waves while Kai mapped nautical charts, laughter cresting high. The tide turned with the bill, $275, undercutting her tip pool from a cancelled lesson. Wiped out on funds, she confessed, adrift in embarrassment. Kai anchored firm. It's on me, rides are better shared. Card secured the shore, and Riley surfaced grateful. Along the boardwalk, foam at their feet, he crested, CEO of Aqua Dynamics, Ocean Renewables. But you're the real tide turner. They dipped toes in surf's edge, waves applauding. You pulled me in, Riley said, linking arms. Kai grinned, their story swelling with the sea. # Story 8, Stellar Sparks. Constellations glittered on the ceiling of Astro Brew, a cafe observatory where telescopes peered at faux stars. Jordan, a different one, an aspiring astronomer with star maps in her bag, aligned her watch for the blind date. Her professor paired her with Nolan, stellar intellect, and Jordan, funded by grants not fortunes, orbited hope. Nolan rocketed in, telescope case in tow, eyes bright as novas. Jordan, Nolan, saw a meteor shower last night, cosmic timing. They charted courses over cosmic cocktails, launching to galaxy-garnished bites, nebula nougats, and a telescope viewing session with premium lenses. Orbits aligned in astrophysics anecdotes and wishes on stars, gravity binding them. But the eclipse hit with the check, $310, black holing her adjunct pay from a grant delay. Out of orbit, she admitted, lost in void. Nolan realigned instantly. It's on me, universes expand freely. Card lit the path, and Jordan's darkness dispersed. Beneath the dome, telescopes forgotten, he unveiled, CEO of Stellar Tech, Space Comms. But you're my Big Bang. They stargazed through the roof, hands constellations entwined. You lit the night, Jordan breathed. Nolan pulled her closer, their cosmos colliding in endless light.